the symptoms were there that finance were really struggling with the fact that cloud was there. Now, IT was trying to do what often IT does in these circumstances, which is reduce the cost. And their business was growing, and their cost reduction efforts were getting lost because the demand was going up. And this wasn't appreciated by the business and by IT. It was just still this big cost that didn't seem to be going down. And IT was working, their approach to FinOps was to work out, for instance, how much each transaction cost and try and drive the cost of each transaction down. But of course, that didn't necessarily relate to a business benefit because these transactions were being used at one remove from what the customers were doing. And so what we started off by doing was really talking to finance and explaining to finance, first of all, what the cloud was. And secondly, that they didn't need to know what was going on in the cloud. They just needed to know what the cloud was serving. And so the big change was when the customer formed a kind of, I can't remember what they called it. It wasn't FinOps, but a kind of cross-function team where IT and a representative finance would get together to work through exactly what finance saw in terms of their revenue lines and their benefits and all that kind of stuff, and how they mapped back to the cloud costs. Now, this is before we do any kind of run rate reduction or efficiency analyses or anything like this. It's just basically matching this chunk of cost for this service or this value or this business benefit, and then producing reports. And so delivering those reports to finance. And this inevitably drives more questions, it drives more analysis, it drives more understanding. And effectively, you almost can't help the situation improves because finance never has to understand the cloud. It just needs to know what the cloud's for, what it's doing. This chunk is for that.
I think that also highlights one of the common or most common misconceptions about FinOps. And Ian and I have spoken at length about this before. And that is that most companies equate cost optimization and FinOps as the one thing, right? Most people think FinOps means bringing my costs down, whereas it's actually far more about understanding my costs and understanding the business benefit of them, generating, like you just mentioned, that company had their cross-team workforce, whatever it was called, where they were able to bring in people from two different departments who didn't speak the same language. Finance people don't care about spot instances or committed use discounts or anything like that. And IT people don't really care about amortization of costs over years and so on. But they came together and were able to get the business value out of the technical product.